Hey guys, welcome back to another Friday Reads. Today I'm going to be talking to you about all of the books that I've read this summer. I split up my seasons by month, not technically when the actual season is, so I'm going to be talking about the books I read in June, July, and August. Also, I will be wrapping up my Owls Readathon, which I participated in August, just all in one video. I didn't want to make a separate one since I only post these booktube type of videos on Fridays. So we'll be talking about that towards the end as well. I'm going to tell you about these in the order in which I read them, not in a number or star rating or anything like that. So we're going to start off with The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Fuck by Sarah Knight. I talked about a few of these books, the first two, in my Friday Reads intro, so I will be brief. I gave this 1 star, although I really should have given it 0 stars, and I DNF'd it. I don't really remember at what page, but I will tell you that I found this book extremely offensive and insensitive, and I am not a sensitive person. I don't find off-color jokes particularly offensive or anything like that, but I find it so hard to put in words because this book literally makes me so angry just holding it up here. The author is so narcissistic, it's unbelievable. This had the potential to be really motivating and inspiring, trying to not care so much about what other people think of you, which is why I started reading it in the first place. I'm a very anxious person. I seek approval of others a lot, which I really shouldn't. I should just do my own thing, and that's what I thought this book would help me do. But this author is so wrapped up in her own head. She is completely insensitive to everyone around her and only cares about herself, and not in a good way, not in a looking out for number one type of way. And there was one instance that really made me upset at first, but I continued to read it, and that was when she made a comment about calling in a bomb threat to an event that she was attending to get out of it, even though she said she would go. Are you serious? And of course, she's not actually recommending that you call in a bomb threat, but considering the world we live in, I couldn't believe that was published in this book, which by the way was published in 2015, so it's not that old. I DNF'd it at the point where she agreed to go to a gallery opening with one of her closest friends who really enjoys that type of event. And if you're a good friend, sometimes you go to things that your friend would really love and it's maybe not your favorite thing. Just saying. But she said she would go because she didn't have the balls to say no thank you. And then while she was eating the hors d'oeuvres, the cheese cubes, the olives, whatever, she was going to cut her wrists open with the toothpicks that they came on. And at that point I was like, I couldn't read it anymore. Yeah, I'm getting all worked up all over again. I DNF'd that book at the end of June. Then I finished A Feast for Crows, which is the 4th book in A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I've been really enjoying slowly moving through the Game of Thrones series or A Song of Ice and Fire series. These are very heavy books, not only because they are so big and dense, in physical form, but because you're following so many characters and perspectives and you're seeing what's happening in the world from all around this world that the series is built into. I personally find it a little heavy to read a few chapters. They're the different perspectives from different people, and then I almost need to set it down and move on to something else for a little while to really digest what's going on. This book, and then the next one, book 5, which is A Dance with Dragons, are split up. They follow the same chronological timeline, but this book follows half the characters and the next book follows the other half the characters. And while I was reading this, I did find myself missing the perspectives from those other characters that were not included in this book. And moving on to the fifth book, I think I'm going to feel the same way, even though I know what happened to those other characters now. I feel like it's going to be very strange going back in time and reading the same timeline of events but from other people's perspectives. I don't know. Once I read that one, I will let you know if I found that confusing or enjoyable or not. But yes, 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. I don't have a fancy editing software to show you the covers. That is what the cover of Since You've Been Gone looks like. I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars as well, and I don't know if I've ever touched on my rating. 4 out of 5 stars for me is still really good. It means I really like the book. 5 out of 5 is like, this book is a new favorite. Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson is a YA contemporary book where you're following a character who has to go through her summer without her best friend. Her best friend just disappears and she doesn't know why. But then in the mail she gets essentially a summer bucket list, and it's full of things that either frighten her or would just push her out of her comfort zone, because she can be quite a loner essentially. And she feels, the main character's name is Emily, and Emily feels that once she completes this list that Sloane, her best friend, has left for her or mailed to her, then she'll be able to find Sloane and get answers. Sloane's not answering the phone or emails or text messages, anything. She's just disappeared off the face of the planet. And you just follow Emily's like shenanigans that she gets up to through the summer. You see her kind of come into her own a little bit. Her identity is very much tied to being Sloane's best friend. They're like a duo, they do everything together, and she doesn't know who she is without Sloane by her side. And you just follow the story through the summer of how she comes into her own a little bit, and I really did enjoy it. Next, I read Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I'm going to hold it back here so I don't have to readjust my camera every time. That is what the cover looks like. I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I'm actually currently reading Thunderhead as the last owl I'm going to complete, which I will get into in a few minutes. Scythe is a dystopian / utopian world. It is a YA sci-fi novel following 2 young apprentices to become scythes, and scythes is a group of people that are allowed to kill people or glean them, because in this world there is no death except for by gleaning. There's no poverty, there's no world hunger, there's no disease, nothing, because the Thunderhead, which evolved out of the cloud that we use today, has eradicated all of that. So the only way you can die now is to be gleaned by these scythes who have a quota to meet, and they go out and kill people as they please essentially. And you are able to like turn back your clock as well, so you are essentially immortal. Once you feel like you're getting too old, your back hurts too much, you don't like the way your skin is sagging, you can just reverse your age to whatever age you would like to go back to. And I really enjoyed this book. I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really liked the political intrigues that were involved within the scythedom. You can see that although they should be the most pure of all, there's definitely corruption wherever you go, even in a world that is supposed to be, you know, free of any suffering. And I really, really loved it. How many times can I say that? Next, I read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I gave this 3 stars. I really didn't like the writing style. Basically, it just wasn't to my taste. And I went in thinking it was like your standard like YA contemporary. I thought we'd be following like a group of kids and their shenanigans. They're like rich through the summer. It said something about like they're rich, there's a private island, and they're liars or something on the back along those lines. But it turned out to be this weird combination of that and also like a mystery thriller. I was thrown by the ending. I know that's probably really naive. If you've read the book, a lot of people are like, yeah, I saw it coming from a mile away, or you're like me and you're like, wow. So it would have been a 2 stars for me until the ending, which I bumped it up to a 3 star because I really just enjoyed the ending. I personally did not see it coming. And I feel like with books like that, that should be kind of where I left it, and it's pretty short. It's like 240 pages, I believe. Next up, I have Cinder, which I rated 3 stars as well. I really liked this book. I didn't love it. This is another YA sci-fi. I've been getting more into that subject, and it is a retelling of Cinderella, but she is a cyborg, and this is set in the future. So as you can imagine, she runs into the prince and she goes to the ball. It's very similar to that. I forget how many years in the future it is set, but I really did enjoy it. Next up, I read The Unexpected Everything, again by Morgan Matson. She just has great summer reads. If you're looking for something like fluffy and contemporary, even I would read it in the beginning weeks of September. Like, it's technically still summer. I rated this 3 stars. I liked it less than Since You've Been Gone, and I didn't realize that they're kind of companion novels, so I would recommend reading Since You've Been Gone first before The Unexpected Everything. That is their publication order as well, but there are very subtle spoilers in The Unexpected Everything, which I'm not even sure if you would pick up on them if you read them like far enough apart, but because I only read a few books in between, I really picked up on that. It's set in the same town, but you're following a completely different set of characters. There are just kind of like the smallest little cameos of characters that were in Since You've Been Gone in The Unexpected Everything, and in such a way that I believe it's a year in the future for The Unexpected Everything, so you kind of see how things played out in Since You've Been Gone. You are following Andy, who lives with her dad. Her mother has passed away quite a few years prior, and her dad is a politician, and there is this big scandal that happened and this big investigation, and because of that she is unable to attend the program she was supposed to go to in the summer, and then she's kind of left waffling around a little bit. She doesn't know what she's going to end up doing, and she ends up becoming a dog walker, which you can tell, maybe not from way back here, but from the cover she has a whole bunch of dogs, and that's very much not anything like she would have done before. I really enjoyed reading about the family dynamic between her and her dad. Her and her dad have a very strange relationship at the beginning. It's all smiles and fake promos for his campaigns and like photo opportunities, stuff like that, but in real life he's busy all the time and doesn't really know anything that's going on in her life. So they have a very distant relationship, but because of this scandal he is taking a leave of absence from being a politician while the investigation goes on, and you just see their relationship evolve. She gets to spend more time with her friends, when usually in the summers they all kind of go their separate ways and do different things, but this summer they're all together. She meets someone, and it's just, like I said, a really light, fluffy contemporary, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, now we are getting into the Owls. Those books are what I read in June and July. The first owl exam that I sat was Care of Magical Creatures, which I had to read a book that includes magical creatures or features a magical creature on the cover. And I had just started this the 1st of August, and this is before I even heard of the Owls, and I kind of fit it into Care of Magical Creatures once I realized. So this is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child Parts 1 and 2. This is a screenplay, and they're calling this the 8th Harry Potter book, which I don't agree with. I actually gave this 4 stars because as a standalone or a companion or a novella, something like that, I really liked it. Of course, I don't really love the style. I wish this was made into a novel form, and they could have totally done that. Even though this was created as a play, as a screenplay, I feel like they could have reworked it into being a novel, and I would have enjoyed it much more. You're following the next generation, so Harry and Ginny's kids, Ron and Hermione's kid, that sort of thing, and kind of what they get up to, and I really liked it. As much as I went into it, I feel like nobody liked it. It does have a 3.7 average star rating on Goodreads, but if you think this is going to be the 8th Harry Potter book, you're going to be disappointed. But I kind of took that out of the equation once I realized, like, no, that's not really how I'm thinking of it. I really did enjoy this. After that, I decided to restart the Harry Potter series and read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I'm Canadian, so it is philosophers, not sorcerers, like in the States. And I read this as my arithmancy owl, and that is to read a book with a number on the cover or in the title. And this is platform 9 3/4, so I fit this into that. I'm so excited to be rereading the Harry Potter series from the beginning. I think I've only done that one other time. I think I've only read the books twice, ever. And I actually discovered I have a first edition. This isn't it, but my Chamber of Secrets book is a first edition, which is super cool, and I didn't even know that. I didn't even know I had that in my possession, but I really am kind of oddly proud of that. But of course, 5 out of 5 stars, 5 out of 5, always and forever. Harry Potter. It's just so nostalgic rereading this again. It just makes me feel like a kid again. If I were reading this for the first time as an adult, I probably wouldn't love it as much, but because I have that attachment to it from reading these as a kid, 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read City of Bones, which I actually put this as my Ancient Runes, which is to have a symbol on the cover, because the cover that I have always seen is this one, which is different. And on this one, you can see all of the runes across his whole body much better, and runes, ancient runes, symbols, that's why I was going to use it. And you can still see it a little bit on his arm, but not as much. I actually changed that to Defense Against the Dark Arts, a book about or featuring a secret society or club, and I'm using the Shadowhunters as the secret society. And I just felt like it fit better anyways. If I were in Hogwarts, I would much prefer to take Defense Against the Dark Arts class over an Ancient Runes class. So I switched it. And this is a reread for me. I read the first 5 books, so City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, and City of Lost Souls. Previously, I got a box set for like Christmas or something years and years ago. And I liked them, but I didn't love them, and now I really regret selling that box set because I wish I had them to reread. I, at the time, didn't know about BookTube or really book bloggers, so I didn't realize that you were supposed to, you can read them however you want, but you're supposed to read the first 3, City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, then read Clockwork Angel, and go in order of publication. And so that is what I'm going to do this time and see if I enjoy it more, and that way I won't have as many spoilers. I do remember quite a few pieces rereading this, but not everything, so we'll see. I rated it 3 stars. I got this from the library. I saw these like at a really good deal at like a thrift store. I considered repurchasing them again, and I still might in the future, but not right now. 3 stars. I enjoyed it. It's definitely not my favorite series, but I'm hoping I enjoy the Infernal Devices series more than the Mortal Instruments series. The last book that I have finished up until now is A Darker Shade of Magic. I'm joining Common Spence and Books with Chloe and a whole slew of other hosts on the A Darker Shade of read-alongs. And so I finished this August 23rd so I could be prepared for the live show. I gave this 5 stars. I love this so much. So this is an adult fantasy novel, and there are 4 parallel Londons, and you're following 2 main characters. Kel, who is a magician kind of, he's called an Antari, and there are only 2 of them that they know of, and these Antares can travel between the different Londons. Not everyone can. So he can relay messages between the different like governing bodies, and each of the worlds are completely different. It is just the London that is the same, and they're not even the same in the sense of how they look or their road systems or anything. It's just a common city that they can travel between, but the world beyond that is always different. So you're following Kel, he's a magician. You're also following Lila, who is a thief who wants nothing more than to be a pirate. And that sounds really strange to explain it like that, but you just need to read it. I loved it so much. I flew through the last third of this book and my heart was just pounding out of my chest the whole time, and then I finished it and I was like, and I was still on the wait list for A Gathering of Shadows, which I just got the other day. So this is the sequel. I got the big floppy edition, which I'm so happy about. I don't know why, but I prefer a floppy edition. I just like the way it feels in my hands more than this. Anyways, I also fit this into my owls, even though it was technically as part of a read-along, but I figured I might as well use it to get another owl exam complete, and I used this for charms, which was to read a fantasy novel. And I just love this. I'm going to ask for this for Christmas, actually. So those are all the books I have completed as of today, which is the 30th. So I have the rest of today as well as tomorrow to finish one more book and one more owl. And I am reading Thunderhead, as I mentioned before, which is the sequel to Scythe. And I'm using that to complete my herbology exam, which is to read a book with a nature-related word in the title. Thunder is a nature word. And I'm also halfway through Illuminae, but I actually had to return that to my library and I have to pick it up again. I only got halfway through and I was going to use that as my astronomy owl exam, but it looks like I'm not actually going to get that completed. But I think 5 owls is pretty good for someone who doesn't read that much. So 5 books in a month I think is really good for me. And I will be trying to sit my newts as well, but maybe not until November. We'll see what other readathons are going on as well, but I have my wedding coming up. I can't be trying to read, what did I do? I completed 5 books, 15 books leading up to my wedding in 1 month. There's no way I can do that. So maybe November, or maybe I'll just kind of after my wedding do like half October, half of November, kind of like fit it in between the months. I'm not sure. Let me know what I should do if you want me to do videos on that as well, like a Newts TBR, even though it won't be like along with everyone else. But I want to complete my Newts before doing my owls again in April, because I'm really excited to do it along with everyone else next time. But yes, that is everything that I read this summer. So I read a total of, I didn't even count them before, 11 books this summer. It will be 12 once I finish Thunderhead, and I think that's pretty good. I started doing these videos and really pushing myself to read more starting in July. So June I didn't really do much. I just completed A Feast for Crows and DNF'd this book. So I think my reading is picking up and I'm really happy about that. It looks like 5 books per month is kind of my reading speed right now, and you know what? I'm happy about that, since my goal for the year was 1 book a month. And I've definitely surpassed that. Please do give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!